All right, good morning, Carroll County. It's January 22nd. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners open session. And as always, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of prayer.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, we've got a little bit of an abbreviated priority carol this morning, so I'm just going to keep it simple. I'll start with Commissioner Kyler. Would you?
Okay.
You go?
And maybe some others do. I want to mention briefly Shamrock Farms. It's been in the news, and the state's not pursuing it as the training center anymore. By dumb luck, I was in Annapolis yesterday because of Mako, and I always text back and forth with our delegation and more people when I'm in there. So I told them about it. As a coincidence, Delegate Stanko's committee was getting a briefing on it, so he got information. My opinion, as happens with the state, we've heard from the governor's staff, we heard from our delegation, we've seen articles in the paper, and there's some inconsistencies with what they're doing, even how many acres they own. But it's interesting. The Banner did an article this morning that I haven't read, and it's a shame. And I testified before the Public Works in favor of Shamrock getting bought, and our commissioners voted 5-0 a few times to push for it. Now, there was more environmental stuff maybe, and some things came up. My worry now is we've been promised by a couple of different people that there will be local involvement in the work board that decides what they're going to do with the property. And I grew up with horses. One of the things was they were going to make it a farm for rescue horses. That would take about 20 acres. So that ain't what they're doing in full. I just hope we get local control and we get involvement in what will happen with the property, be it the environmental things, the neighbors, the traffic. The state could do a lot worse things than a horse training facility, and we need to control that. Again, I was in Annapolis yesterday for Mako. We on Monday nights we do a rural committee analyzation of the bills in Annapolis, and then on Wednesday there's subcommittees that meet, and then an hour later the legislative committee meets, which I'm blessed to be on, and Commissioner Gordon's an alternate, and we go through the bills in great detail. We will have a legislative update that's on the agenda today, and Pam will update everybody on that as much as she can. I do email the agendas for all the meetings when they come. Sometimes they come a half hour before the meeting, but I do try to email those, and there's some misunderstanding sometimes on how Mako works. Number one, how we vote and what happens in the legislative meeting is confidential. The results aren't, but during the meeting it is, and it's not a public meeting. I just want everybody to understand when Pam goes through that, there's certain things she can say, certain things she can't. she participates in all those meetings, and hears what they say. But it's interesting, and one of the giant things about MACO is each county gets a vote. So Baltimore City, PG County, whatever, they have the exact same say as Carroll County does. And I think that benefits us, the small counties, and MACO fights for local control and cost dollars. I want to mention that Steve Wance at Carroll Community College retired last week. We changed our schedule that day at the last minute, and so I was not able to go by and congratulate him, but so I'm doing it now. We had our commissioner's reception, a great evening. I want to thank, and I haven't done that in an email, and I should have, the staff that put it together and everybody that worked for it. It's a great evening, and economic development introduced me to some people that I didn't know before the meeting, and there was a good diverse crowd there, and this hurts, but I need to thank Commissioner Rothstein for setting it all up that we do have beer and wine there. I went to the Young Farmers Bull and Oyster Roast at the Ag Center, and it was more than them. I forget which groups worked on it, but it was great food, great oysters, great beer, and a great crowd, as always out there. Our farm community, such great people. I mentioned the rural counties, and with MACO, we do rural, small counties separately from the large on some meetings, and then the Wednesday meetings is everybody together. Went to Veterans Advisory, and that was a good meeting as always. And then this Friday is point in time count for homeless in Carroll County, and I'm going to participate in that. And that's enough.
I think Commissioner Kyler's covered it all now, but very busy week for all of us, as always. Good morning, Carroll County. Just going to comment very briefly, as my colleague did, about Shamrock Farms, and I do sincerely hope that we're included in some fashion with the decisions that are made there, because obviously it's a significant amount of land in Carroll County, and would like to see something work out that is beneficial to our community at large. Also, just wanted to mention very briefly, we just got the recent numbers for unemployment, and Carroll County was 3.5%, putting us at the lowest unemployment rate in the state. The next lowest was Queen Anne's at 3.7. So that's great for us when it comes to unemployment rates, and we do greatly appreciate everybody doing their best to not only hire the wonderful people in Carroll County, but also creating jobs for our community. Also want to give a thank you in advance to everybody that's going to be out this weekend working with the upcoming weather. So everybody, roads and everyone else that's out there, I want to thank you in advance. I know it's going to be potentially a very rough weekend, to say the least. And I think sometimes you all don't get the appreciation you deserve, nor the notice of that, because I hate to say it, sometimes it's expected from the public. But I want to thank you all personally, and we greatly appreciate you, as well as law enforcement, being out there trying to keep the roads safe and keeping all of us in the best possible. Also wanted to mention very briefly the passing, and want to give my condolences to the family members of Patricia Robertson Miller. She passed away on January 12th recently, and was born in Hanover, Pennsylvania, but grew up here in Carroll County. Was the devoted and cherished daughter of the late Ralph Luther and Ann Elizabeth Robertson. She was also the devoted wife for 46 years to Roy Douglas Miller. Was deeply involved in our community, was, a devoted wife, sister, aunt, dear friend who was heavily involved in the community, was involved with 4-H and a wide array of other things in our community. She also was involved as a flight attendant with Piedmont and U.S. Air. So she was taking countless journeys, and then her and her husband, during their marriage, spent quite a bit of time traveling the world. So just want to give my sincere condolences to the Robertson and Miller family. And that's all for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Gordon. So my priority, Carol, is actually the next item, a very important retirement here within the county. This board, rightfully so, celebrates every retirement of every individual, but very rarely do we have somebody who's devoted so much time and energy to Carroll County, 42 years of service. So I'm going to ask Kathy to come up while I continue to chat, and I think she's going to be flanked by some not bad company, Kathy, the county administrator and the deputy county administrator. So again, as I mentioned, we celebrate every retirement here. But again, very rarely do we have somebody who's devoted 42 years of service to the county. And this is particularly notable retirement because Kathy's part of the commissioner staff here, working closely not only with the commissioners, but that means she's working with everybody in county government and outside of government. And it's no secret that since the day I arrived here as a commissioner, Kathy's been my person that I've worked with closely. So it's particularly tough. This one's particularly tough, but again, it's a celebratory moment. We need to remember that. So I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation, and then we'll hear from. We might hear from Kathy, but I know we'll probably hear from Roberta and Deb. So again, this is a proclamation honoring the retirement of Kathy Dietrich for 42 years of service. Kathy Dietrich has faithfully served Carroll County government for an extraordinary 42 years, beginning her distinguished career in the Department of Public Works and contributing her expertise across numerous departments, including fleet management, road operations, management and budget, the Commissioner's Office, and Citizen Services. And Kathy has worked directly with 7 boards of commissioners and provided invaluable support to the Chief of Staff and County Administrator. Her ability to work seamlessly with local, state, and federal elected officials and appointees has greatly benefited Carroll County and its citizens. Kathy's contributions include serving as employee ombudsman, being named Employee of the Month, attending the Academy for Excellence in Local Governments, coordinating local events, and organizing impactful conferences and expos like the No Wrong Door Conference and Seniors on the Go Expo. Kathy is a native of Hanover, Pennsylvania. Kathy is the daughter of Samuel and Susan Anderson and the devoted mother to 2 fantastic sons, Nathan and Joshua, and a passionate advocate for history, genealogy, gardening, and the arts. Kathy's laugh, smile, and generosity will be deeply missed by all who had the pleasure of working with her these past 42 years. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Carroll County Commissioners, do hereby honor and commend Kathy for her decades of exemplary service, her unwavering commitment to public service, her lasting positive impact on Carroll County and its citizens. We extend our heartfelt congratulations and best wishes for fulfilling and joyous retirement. So, thank you very much, Kathy. I'm going to go ahead and let the county administrator have a few words.
Thank you very much. And I think everyone knows this is very bittersweet. She's starting to cry. I'm going to start to cry. So I wrote down my thoughts, and hopefully I can deliver them as well as you delivered that proclamation. Today we gather to celebrate someone who has been far more than an administrative assistant to our team. Kathy has been a steady heartbeat of our office. As her colleague, I have had the privilege of seeing firsthand the impact Kathy has made every single day. She is one of the hardest workers I know, dependable, detail-oriented, and always willing to go the extra mile, often without even being asked and rarely seeking recognition. We all had to drag her here today, as we know. Simply put, things ran better because Kathy was here. But what truly sets Kathy apart isn't just her work ethic, it's her attitude. No matter how busy the day or how challenging the task, she approached her work with positivity, professionalism, and grace. She brought calm to chaos and order to complexity, all while making it look effortless. And then there's her personality. Kathy has a warmth that puts people instantly at ease, and a kindness that makes everyone feel welcome. Her laugh, that wonderful, unmistakable laugh, has brightened our office more times than we can count. It reminded us not to take ourselves too seriously and to make even the longest days lighter. Kathy, your contributions have mattered very greatly. You've supported this team in countless ways, and your presence has left a lasting mark on us all. I know it has on me, not just professionally, but also personally. As I've said to you, I think maybe never enough times, you have truly been an inspiration to me. Thank you. As you step into this well-earned retirement, very well-earned, I hope, your days ahead are filled with relaxation and joy, new adventures, and plenty of reasons to laugh, just as you've given us so very many. Thank you, Kathy, for everything you've done, for the person you are. You will be deeply, deeply missed, but never, ever forgotten. Congratulations on your retirement as commissioner. Garen said this is a celebratory matter, and I am crying with joy for you. I'm crying sadness for myself, although you will be replaced by an absolutely excellent person also, and I'm looking forward to working even more closely with her. We wish you the very, very, very best life can offer. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's a tough one to follow. So, and I echo everything that Roberta has said. And I hope you already know, how much I truly enjoy working with you. And I want to thank you for everything you've done for the county, from all your hard work, your dedication, your knowledge, your ideas. You have wonderful ideas that you bring to us. And I also want to thank you personally for me and how welcoming you were when I came to the office. She's going to make me cry too. Keeping me on schedule, performing your magic that you always were able to do, and making sure nothing ever fell through the cracks. So I really appreciate how much you've helped me. I wish you a very long, happy, and healthy retirement. And I am going to miss you very, very much, and the sunshine that you bring every day.
Very well said. Kathy, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, but would you like to make any comments, any thoughts?
Okay. It has been an honor and a privilege to work here. And it wasn't always just work. We did important work here, but we also did it with grace, and we all pulled together as a team. And I've always said that about our office staff. We just have such a great team. And my time here in my career, I've been able to raise my children, and I'm extraordinarily thankful for the opportunities that presented themselves in my work here. I'm sorry, I'm really nervous.
You're doing fine. You're doing great.
I'm going to miss the people. You hear that all the time from all the retirees that come up before you. I'm going to miss the people. I'm going to miss the work family and the support that we get in this group. So thank you so much.
And I want to thank you, and I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but in that corner of the third floor, there's a small group, and you said a team, and it is, that works for the taxpayers of Carroll County, and every 4 years, they have to put up with whoever gets elected. And it was interesting. I probably came, Commissioner Weaver probably had me up here before we were sworn in, and everybody was cordial and nice. And I don't know how they were when we left, but they were cordial and nice. And I just appreciate it. And I asked early on, what's this team do? Well, we help you with schedule. We help everybody upstairs, and we try to make you look good. And I said, you're not paid enough. So, thank you.
Well, it's been an honor and privilege to work with you for everyone. And I think, we've all said it, and I'm going to say it again, but we all work for Carroll County as a whole. And you leave an incredibly indelible mark, not only for us in the building, but for the community. Your grace, you've had such impact. I'm going to miss our conversations about history. But just, you add so much to this building. You really do. I mean, whether it's just a general conversation, your smile, the way you approach things, truly irreplaceable. And I have to say, it's going to be a very different building without you here. And I wish you the best in everything you're going to be doing after this. I know you're going to probably have a lot of plans, and I look, obviously I hope they all go well in what you have planned. But definitely, it's been an honor, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. I'm determined to get the last word in, but I was going to ask anybody out in the audience if they had any interest in making any comments, as I suspect they would. The man of few words is going to the microphone.
I've not known anybody here longer than Kathy. When I came here as a budget analyst, one of my first assignments was fleet management, and she was working with Chip Perkins out there. She had blonde, curly hair back then. But, Kathy and I have shared a lot of moments over the years, most of which I probably can't even talk about in public. But I remember her oldest son sitting on the floor in management and budget, rolling a ball back and forth with me. And Kathy gave me a chance to do something really good one time. She was upset about something. I don't remember what it was, but I sent her an email, just said raindrops on roses. And then she sent me back an email. Suddenly, it was all happy. She says, "Oh, that's my favorite movie. I'm so glad you sent that." So, yeah, I can't add much to what everybody else has already said, but yeah, that's going to leave a hole here for me.
Thank you.
That is a segue into Kathy. See, these are my favorite things from the Sound of Music. Take it away.
I just want to thank you, Kathy. I've been here for a year now, and you have really helped me get oriented to the county. And I've seen you work with the commissioners and with Roberta and Deb and in all different capacities. And I think it takes a lot of character and talent and experience that you have all of to be able to work with so many different people with grace and professionalism and just kindness. And I just wanted to say thank you and good luck, and you'll be missed. And I'm sure that everyone who you've ever worked would love to stand up here and say something similar. So I will take the liberty on behalf of all of them to say thank you. But seriously, I wish you well. And I just want to let you know that you've always made every time that I've called or been in the office to work with you very, very happy and pleasant and productive. And thank you.
Hey, Pam, while you're up there, I think, and you guys have to tell me if I'm wrong, Kathy negotiated our lease in our space in Annapolis.
Yes.
And I know you beat on them a fair amount.
Pounded,
You
I think is a
negotiated
good
a
word.
fair amount. We have a much bigger room, and we have good parking. It's
Yes.
it worked, so thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's much better this year. Thank you.
Mr. Doug Brown.
Well, so it's absolutely right that the commissioners don't know everything, and Kathy takes the liberty many times to resolve issues before they ever become issues. And I think those types of relationships and her customer service attitude and her get things done attitude absolutely need to continue, because that's what makes us not a bureaucracy, not a place where you call and only get a voicemail, but a place where you call and get a human, a nice human, like Kathy, who always looks out for your issue and cares that they get resolved and follows up days, weeks, months later to make sure that our customers get it. You're truly appreciated. Going to absolutely miss you. And we do have some snowplow positions available. Looking for anything coming in the future. Godspeed.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll just say something real quick. Pam, you beat me to only 1 year of service, but I think Brian and I are the newest directors here at Carroll County. And Kathy, thank you for teaching us the ropes. Hopefully Brian had the same experience. I'm sure he did. But coming in here and not knowing ultimately where the bathrooms were, I think you probably helped me with that. So thank you. I appreciate the way that you've brought the group together. You know, like everybody said, the commissioners don't hear everything. And when we have our meetings, I think Kathy hears everything. So she keeps that all in there and she keeps everyone straight. And I appreciate you moving calendars around. I know you're quite the juggler. So thank you for everything. And it's been a joy working with you. And
Barber and his daughter Barber and his daughter-in-law Ashley Barber. Rick just retired last March, after 48 years.
Wow.
47 years. So we have a lot of.
between them, my goodness. I don't think either of you were that old.
So we have a lot of fun things planned, work around my house, his farm, lots of trips, lots of history. We
Yes.
both enjoy learning about history, and so we have that. And I also am expecting a grandchild this summer, so I'm very thrilled about that, and I'm hoping that'll keep me very busy too.
Yeah, so I know Josh and Nathan couldn't be here, but if you're watching, yeah, your mom's kind of a big deal. And it's true.
It's true.
So again, Kathy, you know how appreciative I am of you. We had a kind of a joke going the past couple months that, you know, if you were going to try to describe Kathy, you know, in a lot of ways, short and sweet is the best description. But she could be something else if she needed to. She could be adamant, and she could be, you know, very thoughtful in ensuring that things were done and that things were addressed. And I really appreciate the commissioner's comments because things move really fast up here in the Carroll County Commissioner's Office. We do not have a very large staff at all. We are very good stewards of your taxpayer dollars, but what it means is that people are incredibly busy and doing just such a wide array of work. So, Kathy, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank you for the past 3 years and everything you've done for me and this board. You are going to be so missed, but you have got a lot going on. It's not often that you really meet somebody with a genuine wide range of interests that Kathy has. It's pretty astounding. So I know you're going to be extremely busy, and you're going to be very happy doing it.
Yeah.
So congratulations. We're going to miss you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Who has a plaque?
I do.
We have that also.
Yeah, we're
All
going
right.
to get some.
Mr. Burke, are you going to do your Chuck Kaiser impersonation one last time?
I don't know. They're pretty serious, but yeah.
I want to get a picture of Kathy. Can I?
You should get in there.
Matt can take a picture so you can.
Yeah, give me your phone. Did you want to bring the flag?
Oh, that's what I was telling you about your magic.
It's okay. Oh, I got you. No, I knew what you meant.
Trust me, I'm not new. This is my
your
third
second.
time.
I was
This is
gonna
my
say, at least
third
second.
time up here. My stepfather was Bobby Yangley.
My goodness. Put all that together. Wow.
You are Miss Amir. You're Miss Carroll County.
That's right.
Cheese.
And he's got to get the real camera.
Here, you want me to take something for you? I'll come with you.
Yay, yay, Kathy. So solemn. You gotta be-
Yeah, we get, so,
By the way,
Yes.
your loss is my gain.
very true.
You're right.
Very true. See you later.
Take care.
Well, we got through that, everybody.
It's harder than I thought.
We knew that was going to be tough. So
You did well.
I cried a little.
On the inside.
I am, truly will be so missed. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 2. We are going to hear from Ms. Pam Meister, our legislative liaison, with a legislative update and what is going on in Annapolis. Do we really want to know?
No, and
Probably
things are
not.
already falling apart without
Yes.
Kathy because I had massive technology issues this morning. So they're resolved, but I don't have a pretty presentation for you as a result. So next week you'll see slides. Anyways, a lot is going on in Annapolis, and I'm going to keep things very high level and broad today. Next week, I'm going to get more into the depth of individual bills and budget items, but I wanted to take time to set the stage for you and for anyone that's watching about some changes that are going on, both how we do things here in Carroll County with legislative work and what's going on in Annapolis. Because I think it'll help set the stage and framework for more to come. The first thing, which I think is very exciting, is we procured something called a Gageify as a tool that the Maryland Association of Counties has used previously, as well as other jurisdictions, to make our legislative tracking system more efficient and effective. And it's something that we put together right before session and been working with the vendor to do. So you're going to see some things coming your way through reports in your inboxes and also in my presentations each week that are able to efficiently sync what is happening in almost real time in Annapolis with all of the positions that the Maryland Association of Counties is taking, as well as what our departments here are able to weigh in on as far as their perspective on various things that are being proposed. So it's a computer tool, essentially, so that things aren't going to be living in inboxes and getting clouded. And my hope is that it's going to give you as commissioners more at the fingertip information as we go through session in real time about not only what's happening in Annapolis that you can see on the Maryland General Assembly website, but also what some of your departments are thinking and saying internally as they look into the different things that are being proposed in Annapolis and what I'm learning, so that you can weigh in as well and make sure that we are on top of issues that affect Carroll County. I'm going to use the information from the system each week to make sure that you know what's going on as far as upcoming hearings, which bills we may want to consider monitoring more closely or taking action on, and you'll be seeing more about that in days to come. There will also be a public dashboard available that I will do a presentation on when we have it ready at some point during session, so that the public can look and see what bills we're tracking and monitoring as well. So it's going to add a layer of transparency, and I think that's going to be really, really positive. In addition, the General Assembly, as I'm sure you're all aware, has had a lot of leadership and committee changes this year, most notably a new speaker, and there's new committees, one of which in the House has a local component, which is going to be really, really helpful in making sure that issues that affect counties have the space to be considered together. And that's something that I've seen when we work with other jurisdictions and we work with MACO and other groups to be a really big positive. So I'm excited to see how that kind of translates in a committee change. As I'm sure you've also heard, the budget was introduced yesterday by the governor. Next week, I'll go through a lot of highlights, but as we expected, it's going to be a difficult year. So I would ask you to please take a look at your emails that I sent you this week and anything that you're able to review. And if there are any items in particular that you want to make sure that I'm flagging from a budget perspective, and department heads, if you're listening, this goes for you too, please make sure that I'm aware of the things that you're most concerned about. It's, a dense document. It's going to take some time for me to comb through, but I want to make sure we don't miss anything that the county wants to protect and preserve, or if there's anything that has been already proposed as a cut that's a problem, let me know that as well, and we will tackle that. MACO, I've mentioned already a couple of times, is something that is the group that we work with very closely to make sure that anything local is considered, and when it's something that counties as a majority agree on, MACO would take positions so that they can advocate and have more of a loud voice. Commissioner Kyler and I go to Annapolis on Wednesdays and have legislative committee meetings as well as multiple other meetings throughout the week to stay apprised of issues that are important to local governments, certainly Carroll and other counties. And I just want to remind you commissioners that your one vote through Commissioner Kyler has meaning, and it's not something that MACO, divulges in their testimony. But when I'm presenting bills as the session goes on and talking about MACO's position, recognize this may or may not be in alignment with Carroll County's position. And certainly Commissioner Kyler can speak to you offline about what he's weighed in on for Carroll County. But if there's something that you feel MACO is supporting or opposing or not taking a position on that we either agree with but want to be more strong with our voice, or disagree with and need to come out and say why, I would ask that you please talk to me and Commissioner Kyler so that we can do so, whether it's in the form of a letter or written testimony or speaking at the committee hearings. I'm going to try each week to send you an update of what bills that we're monitoring that are coming up in the 2 weeks or so ahead during the legislative session, because we do have very strict guidelines, as you may recall, for when we have to sign up to testify or when we could submit written testimony. We can always submit letters, but we want to try to be as effective as possible. And I want to make sure that with the thousands of bills that we're looking at, the handful of those that are coming up sooner are really at your front of your attention, so that if there's something that you want us to consider or we want to bring up in session for a vote, to make sure that we can take an official position that we do that. So that's one change from last year that I'm going to try to apprise you with each week in some form of an email. So if you see something that's noteworthy, let me know. If you have questions, we'll talk about it further. But just know that we use MACO as a guideline, but it doesn't mean we always have to agree. And it may mean that we do agree, but we want to also make sure that Carroll's voice is heard. We received some really positive feedback last session and in the interim through talking to the delegation about having a louder voice in Annapolis and being a little bit more present on issues and not just our top priorities. So I'm hoping to continue that trend this year and make sure that Carroll County is seen and noted for the great work that we do and all of the important positions that we take. Blueprint's an issue that has come up over and over again, and it was really wonderful to see different leaders from the county in a variety of settings get up and talk about the progress and the changes that were made as a result of Carroll County taking a leadership on that issue this year, and other jurisdictions are taking note. So I want to be able to do the same with other issues as well. Just moving on, a couple of other notes. In case you are not already aware of this, I just want to make sure to remind you that MACO does choose 4 legislative initiatives that they center their topics around and what they're going to be focusing a lot of efforts on. So you'll be hearing a lot about these from me. That doesn't mean there aren't other important issues. So I want to make sure that we are staying in the loop on these issues, but also if there's anything else that Carroll County, is really wanting to monitor, that we are paying attention as well. There are 4 initiatives for this year that went through a long process in the interim to get to this point with a lot of input from all the counties. Talks about restoring highway user revenues, making sure that local governments are maintaining are getting back to historic levels of funding, because there's been a lot of reduction there. And local governments, interestingly, maintain more than 4 out of 5 road miles across Maryland, but only receive a fraction of transportation revenues. So it's a big issue. Housing tools for counties are going to be a huge issue that the governor's introducing a package of bills on. So you're going to hear a lot about housing this year, school construction, and looking at the mounting pressures that counties are facing to keep up with the demands and the rising costs. That's something that they're going to be looking at even closer. And then budget. that's, I think, the name of the game this session for everyone and everywhere. Money, budget, looking at issues that have come down from the federal government to our state and what we need to do to restore some balance, not just this year, but looking at the years ahead. So I'll pause here for a second to see if you have any questions before I talk about a few specific initiatives.
I have a request.
Sure.
SB 159 is the bill that, for EMS about vehicle requirements. And HB 0272 talks about on-farm food services, and we talked about that in here in the last 6 months with the health department about annual fees. This, I think, this bill, it makes the annual fees better, but it does some more requirements on what kind of restroom facilities they have and some other items, insurance and whatever. So I think the commissioners are interested in those too. And then lastly, HB 0347, Senate Bill 0090 is the workman's comp bill that talks about hypertension. And I know MACO's going to look at all three of these pretty hard. Some of them, and what they do, based on when the first reading is, they might put them on hold. They might support with amendments. They might do a letter of explanation, and they could oppose. And these bills have some, I think, some weird wording. And so can you send those three bills to all the commissioners? And then if you guys, I know Commissioner Vigliotti was hot on the on-farm stuff, and he's not here today, but he'll see the email. So do you mind sharing that with everybody? And then
Sure.
And there, I think those are three of the ones that we need to track.
Okay.
Now, there'll be plenty more, and we had, I don't know what, 10 pages of bills. Yeah, and of note, the MACO legislative meeting, there were 67 people on the virtual meeting, so only one per county. Well, in the where there's a county executive and council, they get to vote twice, but it only counts half. But so it's probably 30 of them were voters, and then the rest were interested parties or alternates. So it's a good meeting. So
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, you know, the staff that goes through all the issues is amazing. I mean, they really are issue experts, and they've developed really strong relationships throughout the state. So they're able to get a lot done. And I have a lot of respect for them. And I think that, you know, they have a really good system of how they try to make things happen and respect the counties in terms of just different positions. You know, there were a number of bills yesterday that were raised where people didn't agree. And, you know, Mr. Sanderson said over and over again, we will make sure, even though the vote didn't go your way, that we are careful and respectful in how we speak about this, and that we recognize the issues that you're raising as a result. So I think that's important. But I also think, you know, it's noteworthy that we do chime in as Carroll County, regardless of MACO's position, and don't just rely on that for advocacy of what matters most here, even when it's totally in alignment. You know, even if you were to read two letters and they were very similar, I think that's useful, helpful, and appreciated. And we can certainly talk about how much, you know, to weigh in and when it should go beyond a letter or such throughout the session. You know, Commissioner Kyler, you're right. There's a few bills that you mentioned, and I have others. I'm going to try to give you reports that don't overwhelm you and highlight the things you're interested in, but I can give you as much as you want. You know, that's one of the good things with this new tool. It's going to make it a lot easier for me to keep you in the loop, and we'll do some internal training so you can kind of get in and see what you want. But I wanted to, you know, just thank you also for coming down to Annapolis and being such a good advocate and voice for Carroll County. You know, people respect you and like you down there, and, you know, we have some good times too. So that's fun.
yeah, I don't know if they like me or not, but the delegation, we try to communicate with them whenever we're there, and other people. You have a wider network down there, but I do see the delegates and senators in our group reaching out to you more about bills they want to clarify the writing, and it's timing's tough. If we have anything we want written, we need to get moving because
Yes.
they want to get that done.
So for legislation, we need to do it like yesterday. So you will hear from me at nights and weekends, especially during session, because there's a lot going on. But what I'm going to do, just for the sake of clarity of all of this, is I will send you a written report between now and next week that has kind of all the bills that MAKO's tracking, so you can take a look and see those issues, their positions on those bills. Next week, for the public's sake, since you're all aware of these, I will make sure also to go through the issues that you all have raised as your top priority bills. The reintroduction of the property tax bill, the bond bill. There's an issue with the health board. We're not formally dealing with Sunday hunting this year as a Carroll County issue, but there is a statewide bill. So we'll go through the specifics of what that legislation looks like so that you can see what its current form is, and the public can also be, abreast of that. But I will make sure between now and next week that you kind of have the whole host of things that are at least on my radar right now. And if there's anything that in particular you don't just want monitored, but you want more attention to, let me know. If there's something I'm not bringing before you, please let me know. Call me, email me, whatever you need. I'm here for you, and I am doing my best to make sure that the state delegation is in the loop on what you're working on, and I've let them know that, we're here to help them in any way that we can that's appropriate as well. So, if there's something they're working on that impacts the county, I'm asking them to proactively come to me in addition to me coming to them so that we can be a partner and help them in any way that everyone's comfortable moving forward for the sake of Carroll County. So, I will, I guess, leave you with this last thought. There are a lot of nuances when you look at positions to take on the legislation. Typically you're going to support a bill, you're going to oppose a bill, you might just have a letter of information, or you'll support it with amendments. When you support it with amendments, oftentimes that means if the amendments don't go the direction you want, you would oppose the bill. That's how it's standard to be understood in Annapolis, and what MAKO also does for continuity of positions. So when I'm talking about those positions over the session, that's what you'll be hearing me refer to. But I think it's really important that we're careful when taking any official position as Carroll County to consider those options and be mindful. And if you want to have discussions about that, we can do so that when you do decide to weigh in, we're doing it in the most impactful way to achieve the goal that you want. Because sometimes something may on the surface, look really great, but there could be that little detail, or it may not look so great, but there's something important. And I want to try to help you navigate that as we move forward through the session. I also really think that we are in a really great position, given that it's an election year coming up, to try to take advantage of that in a positive way, because people are going to pay attention to continue to work on Carroll's positive reputation in Annapolis. I think it's growing in a good way. Just like Kathy, who I think has a really great reputation here, I think that does permeate beyond just right here in Carroll County. Like, people really do like the people they interact with, and I want to continue to move that forward and make sure that your voices are heard on these issues that matter, because that's what session's about. And this year with the budget in particular, there's a lot of opportunity. Somebody was presenting the budget somewhere recently, and they were saying how much money we have to spend instead of how much we have to cut. So we're going to try to look at it that way, so that we can spend it wisely in ways that help things here in Carroll County. But I'm here for you any way that you need. I will continue to keep you informed. Please reach out, anything that I can do to make sure that we're as effective as possible and heard in Annapolis. And I will be testifying for sure on the priority bills that you've already supported. But if there's something else you want me to testify on, I do need your official approval. So keep that in mind and recognize that I have to sign up 48 hours and sometimes longer over weekends in advance, or else I'm not permitted to do so, and that's the same for written testimony. So just know that deadlines are really, really tight, and they're hard in Annapolis. They're not soft. So we have to respect those if we want to have a say. But anyway, thank you for your time today.
And doesn't have to be part of the meeting, but I know Delegate Thomason and maybe others in our delegation have talked with you about the hunting bill and what they think maybe they can get passed versus not, and I know that's important to you, so if you can make sure he's up to date
Yes.
on where that is.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was going to mention that, Commissioner. Thanks, Commissioner Call. Yeah, Delegate Chris Tomlinson's been great keeping us informed, and I know I've seen you in a lot of the emails, and the current discussions regarding it are a bit perplexing, and that's not really what we would hope for.
Right.
It's a little complicated, so we definitely want to be able to sort through all that as we go on. If there is benefits for Carroll County, certainly we'll be supporting those, but it's already evident in reading some of the draft legislation that things are getting complicated.
Yes, it appears that it's going in the direction that you wanted to go, but not quite exactly in the same direction. So we can talk more in depth about how you want to proceed with that. But we did talk yesterday in Annapolis briefly, and that was the same sentiment that Delegate Tomlinson had.
I appreciate it very much.
And one of the senators, we are getting attention some. One of the senators texted at 3:45 that if we were available, he now had a few minutes for us. So
Oh, okay.
I said, we're not, but we will be next week.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And I can reach out to him separately. Thank you for letting me know.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, as we move on to item 3, I just want to mention to Ms. Wyndham and Mr. Swam, I know a lot of these are public comment agendas, so if we do have anybody that wants to make a comment, please just interject as we move along. So we're going to move on to agenda item number 2, contract renewal, health and welfare consulting services. Ms. Bixler, we lost we had a really good employee retire this morning. We've
I
got to
know.
do something about that.
I
We've got to
know.
stop these folks
I'm
from
gonna
leaving.
throw her a party.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Office of Procurement, Cooperation with the Department of Human Resources requests your approval to renew the contract with Bolton in the amount of $135,000 for health and welfare consulting services. Bolton was awarded a competitively bid contract or an RFP. This amount is approved in the FY26 budget.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm here with Robin Hooper, our Division Manager of Employee Wellbeing, and we just are asking for your approval to move forward with the contract for Bolton. You may recall, we were here in 2024, I believe, and started a contract with Bolton, which has been very good for us. They provide us with a lot of services in regards to our benefits. No new news to you that we transitioned to a new insurance this year. We could not have done that and many other things without them. They work very, very closely with us, providing us with reports, helping us through the RFP process. They've obtained a lot of benefits in the new contract with Care First and others, and we would ask for positive consideration with regards to moving forward with continuation of their contract.
I move the Board of Commissioners renew the contract for health and welfare consulting services to Bolton in the amount of $135,000.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Thank
carries.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is the sale of the former New Windsor Middle School.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is an informational update for you. Many of you will recall that in 2016, the Board of Education, citing inadequate or declining enrollment, decided to close 3 of the public schools, including New Windsor Middle School. And they were Charles Carroll, New Windsor Middle School, and North Carroll High School. So by law, any of these buildings closed revert to the county commissioners. They become your property. In April of 2018, the county commissioners solicited bids for the sale or lease of the New Windsor Middle School, and we received one offer from a company called New Windsor Holding LLC, who is doing business as Springdale Prep currently, and they have gave us a lease with an option to purchase the property. And after some various renewals, the lease with option to purchase was extended until December 31st, 2025. Now, the option to purchase is a provision in the lease which gives the lessor, which is Springdale Prep, the option to purchase the property at a specified price that was agreed to by the county commissioners. And in that case, it was $4,002,500, and they had until the end of December of 2025 to exercise the option as part of the lease. And lo and behold, on December 30th, we received notice from the company that they would like to purchase the property within the next 60 days. So we expect to settle on that property within 60 days. So Denise is here if you have any questions about the process, but we wanted to give you a heads up as to where that's going. You're going to be out of the school owning business shortly, so.
Do we need to vote on transferring the property, or is that?
No, the
part of
previous
the
board.
contract and, you know, that was all decided a long time ago?
Yes, the previous board elected at a public session to sign the lease and the option to purchase, so.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say, and good facts. Unfortunately, I was involved as a citizen when they closed 3 schools, and they did it to save money, and it didn't. And the governor sent them, and I can't remember, $4 or $5 million to wait a year and make a better decision, and they took the money and didn't make a better decision. And it was pretty chaotic, but I think something we learned through that process, Carroll County cannot afford to own a school that sits vacant. North Carroll was horrible for a while, and finally the commissioners sold that. And I know we're getting stuff that this isn't a fair price, and it's probably a very fair price, but and the maintenance of these buildings is just horrible, and the one thing, the North Carroll. There's a group in North Carroll that probably still hates the county decision, and I fully understand that. But the other thing that happens when North Carroll closed, because I was asked for a year or two, are we going to reopen it? You lose everything grandfathered that's MSDE standards. And so if you reopen it a month later, you have to modify a lot of the building and meet their new standards, which makes it very costly. So I know this is tough in a lot of people, and it was emotional. I do know that Carroll County Public Schools has no desire to take this school back, and they're the experts on what schools they need. So I know it's a lot of misunderstanding about this and heartache, and I was curious. I thought we probably had to vote today, but it's already decided legally.
Yeah, I think it's probably worth mentioning, and Ms. Beaver, correct me if I'm wrong, but the lease that was set to start on January 1st of this year, 2026, did not include an option to buy. And to our, I guess it might have been a bit of a surprise to some of us that at almost the last few hours that were available in 2025, they made that decision to purchase. So I think that's also an important footnote for people to recognize that things were going to change, their options were going to change, and they made a decision at the last minute as they had the right to do so.
Right. Well, and I think it's also important to note that Springdale Preparatory has been operating very well, and they do have expansion plans, over the next 10 years to really continue to make improvements on the property in New Windsor and really make that a great school. And it does have good rankings in the state as a private school. They have about 200 students. excuse me, and about 100 of them are local students. And they also employ over 60 employees. So they've invested about $3 million in upgrading the dormitories on the former New Windsor Brethren Center property that they've owned. And they have great plans to continue to invest in that property. So I think that's important to note, that I think it is going to be a long-range, good opportunity for the town of New Windsor and for Carroll County to have this private school here in New Windsor.
Any further discussion on this item? All right, seeing none. Ms. Beaver, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We're going to move on to agenda item number 5. It's a request for a public hearing for the FY27 Annual Transportation Plan.
It's a mouthful. I apologize for that.
It is.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Stuck. We're here this morning to request your approval to advertise the opportunity to request a public hearing as required by the Annual Transportation Plan grant application. This grant supports both the demand response and Trailblazer services provided by Carroll Transit. Advertising for a public hearing is a condition of the grant, and as part of that advertisement, we're required to include the amount of federal funding we anticipate requesting, which is why we're here to discuss the preliminary budget with you today. The grant application is divided into 2 parts. The first part, due February 6th, focuses on operations. The second part, which is going to include the budget, is due March 27th. I'll be back before that to get your approval on the final budget before we submit that half of the application. There are minimal changes to the preliminary budgets compared to FY26. Vendor expenses are increasing due to the higher contracted hourly rate for next year and anticipated ridership growth. County expenses are decreasing due to the dispatch software now being included as a contractor expense. Overall, total expenses are increasing by approximately $180,000. The most significant change is on the revenue side. CARES funding is expiring June 30th, 2026. It will also be fully expended. As a result, county funding will be required to cover the gap not funded by the grant. You will notice 2 FY27 columns in the budget on the briefing paper. One reflects the amount that we will request from MTA, and the other reflects what we realistically anticipate to receive. MTA has instructed us to request the full amount needed to cover operations, which is what will be included in the public hearing notice. However, for budgeting purposes, we must remain conservative and realistic. While we do not anticipate to be flat funded for FY27, we don't have enough information from MTA yet to have an estimate on what that's going to look like. So based on current projections, the total county contribution is estimated at nearly $1.9 million, which includes the required match for the grant money of $108,000 and then the overmatch of just under $1.1 million. There are no major changes to the capital request this year either. Good news with the capital is that we anticipated MTA to drop their match to 2.5%, and they are not. They're keeping it at 5%. So that saves us, 2.5% to cover that difference. So we're requesting a little bit more in preventative maintenance this year than we received last year, FY26. And as usual, we're requesting 4 replacement vehicles. We usually receive 3. All that being said, today's request is solely for the opportunity for a public hearing based on the funding request. So I'll be back in March to talk more about the budget and hopefully have a little bit more information from MTA as to what our funding could look like. Do you have any questions?
I just want to add real quick. Commissioner Kyler is on their TAC board, Transportation Advisory Committee Council.
I never remember. I think it's council.
It's a bi-monthly meeting that we have. It's a board that talks about all things transit. And I just want to kind of thank all the public input we've been getting. I know Commissioner Krebs was also in attendance. We've been having a packed house the last couple meetings, and it's great to hear from the public and get feedback and hear what the community really needs out there. So aside from this is sort of prescriptive stuff. I just wanted to kind of put a plug in for the folks and that have been coming out and participating.
I move the Board of Commissioners direct staff to advertise the option to request a public hearing using preliminary funding request for the FY27 Annual Transportation Plan.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. In terms of discussion, so it's important for everybody to remember that the Carroll transportation system transit system, CTS, there's really two modes. There's a scheduled fixed route, and there's the demand for service. And there has been some discussion amongst the board members of ways to, for all intents and purposes, just try to recognize the value of the demand service and have a discussion about whether any sort of improvements to that might better suit some of the other communities, some of the other regions of the county. I really don't know what that would entail. I mean, it already exists. I don't know if it would be a sort of a funding discussion or just an issue of a sort of like a policy discussion amongst the board that we wanted to emphasize that level of service. But you may be hearing more about that as we continue and get into the FY27 budget, that's something that we're debating amongst ourselves and taking a hard look at.
Okay, I also want to let you guys know we are in the middle of working on our transportation development plan, which is a 5-year plan. An outside consultant provided by MTA is putting that together for us. They've been at the last 5 TAC meetings. And part of that plan is suggested changes, improvements, things like that. And they will be presenting, the consultant, will be presenting that plan to you as the commissioners. I don't have a timeline for that yet. I don't know that it's going to coincide well with budget season because nothing ever does with this grant. But that is coming. So we should have some recommendations from them on what will be best for the system. But I will also take any kind of recommendations that you guys want to see, and we can certainly talk about what numbers, what budget impacts that might have if you have some ideas too.
And I think if the talk is to be more responsive to some individuals, it's a funding issue. So if we want to, the last couple years, I think it was tough for this board because you guys had COVID money. And if you look at this, it's not costing a lot more than it did pre-COVID, and because the COVID money ran out. But we've been, I think, pretty tight with the budget for this. So I think we need to decide, do we want to spend some more money and make it more responsive, or is, you know, and is it fair to the taxpayers to pay more money for some individuals? You know, it's a tough discussion, and they do rider surveys. They get a lot of information, and we need to look at that.
All right, thank you. There is a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Boki, you're going to stick around for this one.
I am, yes.
Okay. Agenda item number 6, approval to sell 2 county-owned properties, one at Raywell Avenue and the other at Chapel Road. Mr. Boki.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Brian Boki, Director of Public Works. I was here back in April to sort of March, to kick this process off.
Excuse me. Is there public?
Oh,
Yes,
my apologies.
Yeah, didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I raised my hand, but.
Okay, do we
There
not have
are
cards?
cards that you're supposed to fill out, but that's okay, you
There are
can.
cards back there. I looked when I came in.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, we ran out last
All right,
time, and
we're
I thought
gonna-
for sure we would have fixed that. Forgive me.
We're going to fix that. Ma'am, my
Fine.
apologies. Please step to the microphone.
Thank you. My name is Karen Donaldson, and I'm here to speak today just on behalf of the process for these 2 properties to be sold. They've both been off the market a while. According to public information, they both had multiple offers. And I wear a couple hats. Full disclosure, I've been a real estate agent for 37 years. I'm absolutely not here today wearing my real estate hat. I'm here today wearing my taxpayer hat, which I feel is equally important. And when anybody sells property, I feel like they should educate themselves on the process, whether it's selling a car or a house or anything else. And typically when you sell a house, you accept the highest offer with the best conditions. Best conditions can vary greatly, certainly being like what you were talking about, you don't want to own schools. I guess in this case, you don't want to own those 2 houses, right? But with which one? Chapel. There were multiple offers. I'm not sure, my concern is the commissioners didn't fully understand the real estate market when you're going through the process, because buyers are not going to wait a month to sign an offer. And while it's on the table, the sellers can change their mind a million times. The buyers can change their mind and walk and say, I'm not waiting. And that can actually cost thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands of dollars, which are taxpayer money. If you don't get top dollar for your price, it's going to trickle down. And if you do that across the board, it could cost, I don't know, $500,000, $1 million. So that's my concern, is that possibly with the sale of these two transactions, because of the time involved to make a decision, it could have cost you a lot of money. The second thing is the way you accept the offer. Raywell was advertised as is. A lot of properties are sold as is, but as is does still give the buyer the option to make inspections. And in the case of the Raywell, it was decided that you didn't want any inspections at all. That's not the market. The market allows the buyer to have reasonable inspections. I've been selling houses for 37 years. In 37 years, I had one incident where an inspection damaged a property. It broke a baffle on a septic, and the septic company repaired it. So the liability for a seller in having inspections and letting the buyer pay top dollar for your property is really minimal. And it was disappointing to me that I feel like the commissioners in this case didn't make good decisions, and it bothered me all week. And I'm like, instead of whining on social media, I'm going to get my ass in here and have my say. The last thing is that there was an error, and I'm going over, I'm sorry. There was an error on the listing, and it allowed to be remained on the listing for 22 days. That just makes Carroll County look kind of dumb, and I don't ever want my county to look dumb. So thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Donaldson.
All right, so we'll get this kicked off again. Thank you for public feedback. It's always very welcomed. And I'll be honest, this is my first time with Carroll County going through and selling properties. So it was a new process for me, and we were kind of learning as we went through this process. And, the public commenter made some very good points. I think, we have certain rules, regulations, public processes that we do need to follow, and we'd be happy to look at that process to see how we can refine that when we go through this again. So we were here in March to start this process, to ask your approval to get kicked off to sell these two properties. We gave a little detail on the two properties. I'll just give a quick recap for refresh your memory. The first property, as mentioned, was 640 Raywell Avenue, located in Union Bridge. This property was purchased in 1990 for the development of Bark Hill Park at a future access point. As work progressed through the park, they found another access to get to the park off of Peace and Plenty. And since then, we've been renting this property out. We've determined that there's no longer a need, so we're just going to get it off the books. And then the second property is 1011 Chapel Road, located in New Windsor. This property was purchased in 2010 for a roadway extension project, but currently the project is no longer being pursued, and we no longer need this for a future roadway. After we received your approval to begin the process, we got in touch with a real estate agent who helped us get the listings and contracts and all that fun stuff together. These properties, Raywell was listed for $315,000. Chapel Road was listed for $250,000. They were close to fair market value. A lot of things to consider. Again, not a real estate agent, but we were selling these as is. We wanted to sort of streamline this process as fast as we can. So currently, we have an offer for Raywell Avenue of $276,500. And an offer on Chapel for $300,000. So we're here today to ask your approval to accept those offers and move forward with the process.
I move the Board of Commissioners approve the sale of 640 Raywell Avenue and 1011 Chapel Road.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion carries.
Thank you,
Mr.
Commissioners.
Thank
Becky.
you.
Agenda item number 7, janitorial services of multi-county owned buildings.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Division of Facilities, requests your approval to award a contract for the janitorial services at multiple county-owned buildings to Community Bridge Incorporated of Washington, D.C., in the amount of $242,817.58 annually. This project was recently advertised for proposals on public purchase, and 12 bids were received and are summarized in the table below. Community Bridge Incorporated was deemed to be the lowest responsible bidder on the project. The bid amount is within the adopted budget.
Commissioners, for the past 5 years, Summit Building Services held its contract for the county. With our review on the submitted proposals and reviewing the references of the winning bidder, we recommend awarding Community Bridge Incorporated the janitorial contract for Carroll County facilities. This contract will cover the cleaning service and all necessary janitorial supplies needed for the 11 buildings that went out to bid. A background check of all employees providing services is required as part of this contract and a part of being awarded. The agreement will be for 1 year with 4 additional years renewal options. Here to answer any questions you may have.
Just out of curiosity, with the renewal option, is there any increase in the pricing that we know of?
They're allowed up to, correct me if I'm wrong, 3%. Is it 5?
It's either 3 or 5. I'd have to double check.
Okay.
But they don't generally ask for that every year.
Okay.
But they have the option to.
Okay. I move the Board of Commissioners award a contract for janitorial services for multiple county-owned buildings to Community Bridge, Inc. in the amount of $242,817.58.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion carries.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right, agenda item number 8 is the approval to purchase 2026.
Not me.
Yeah, I was I was making sure I was on the right item.
Just testing.
Almost. You're, this is a,
Unless there's been a switch between our fleet and building construction. Thank you very much.
there is the next item, agenda number 8 is the approval to purchase 2026 Chevy Tahoe 4x4.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Division of Fleet and Warehouse, requests your approval to purchase 2026 Chevrolet Tahoe 4x4 PPV from Criswell Fleet Sales in the amount of $61,138. This purchase will be made from a Baltimore County contract that was competitively bid that Carroll County will utilize. This amount is within the FY26 approved budget.
This vehicle will replace an existing Department of Fire and EMS Services unit for emergency response operations. Because it will be deployed throughout the entire county, it will provide greater flexibility to assist and support residents and to render aid as needed. The 10-year-old replacement will be auctioned off and should bring between $500 to $1,000.
Move the Board of Commissioners approve the purchase of 2026 Chevy Tahoe 4x4 PPV from Criswell Fleet Sales in the amount of $61,138.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Stay safe this weekend.
You too.
Yeah. You too, guys. You're going to be out there.
They'll be doing a lot
All right,
of
the
work.
next item agenda number 9, is a contract award commissioning services for the State Attorney's Office.
All right, good morning again.
Good morning.
So this is for State's Attorney's Office building. As I'm sure you're all aware, we're well under construction. So this is just as the building's going up, we'll be having a third-party commissioning agent help with mechanical, electrical, fire alarm, plumbing services, making sure what's installed is exactly what was within the design scope.
Move the Board of Commissioners approve the contract for commissioning services to KCI Technologies in the amount of $54,600.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. That was quick. All right. The next item, item agenda number 10, is a contract award for construction services for synthetic turf field at Carroll Community College.
All right. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Division of Building Construction, requests your approval to award construction services for the synthetic turf field at Carroll Community College to Target Sports Field Turf in the amount of $4,354,854. This award will be made via a Sourcewell contract that was competitively bid. This amount is within the FY26 approved budget.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'd like to provide a brief overview of what the project entails. Carroll Community College will be getting a synthetic turf field, which includes an NCAA level track and field facility. Bleacher seating, which is going to be roughly about 100 to 150 seats. A sports field lighting in an area occupied by existing grass field on the west side of Route 97 on the campus of Carroll Community College. The synthetic turf for the links field will be a Fieldtex Vertex Prime product. Field markings will consist of inlaid soccer, women and men's lacrosse, flag football, and a center Lynx logo. The track at Lynx Field will be acceptable for NCAA level competitions. Track surfacing will be installed over an asphalt paved surface. The track surfacing will also be included on runways for jumping events. Those field events include steeplechase, discus, long and triple jump, high jump, shot put, and pole vault. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
I move the Board of Commissioners approve the contract for construction services for the synthetic turf field at Carroll Community College to Tackett Sports Field Turf in the amount of $4,354,854.
Second.
For the purpose of discussion, so the design plans and the plans itself for the turf field have been approved. Is that correct?
Not fully.
Not fully.
They're about 95%. We're waiting on stormwater management to address a few LR comments.
And that was what I wanted to discuss. So that is always the sticking point with turf fields. I think naturally they create stormwater management, just the nature of them themselves. But what type of difficulties, if any, have you been encountering with that? And is that something we've got to work out with MDE in terms of what's going to be approved for stormwater management, or is that going to work itself through? And is that cost? And I guess my follow-up question was, how much has that increased the cost of this project at all?
I wouldn't say it has increased the cost. I would say it's part of just the overall project itself. The filtration system that's built around the field itself obviously has to have somewhere to go. So that feasibility study's been done to where, we know the outfall that's going to go to and so forth. But as far as increasing the cost, it doesn't.
Okay.
There's some counties, they look at it as, I forget what the word is, but whether the water can filter through the field or not. But obviously we have that role here in Carroll County, so.
And our concept stormwater management has been approved, so we're just doing like tying up loose ends at this point. And within this project budget, we kept 10% construction contingency as we always do. So if there are changes within the stormwater management design from today on, we have that contingency built into the project, so we can always absorb those costs.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, so this is a lot more than a turf field.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is stormwater management track, the accessory events. Does it include any fencing or lighting?
It does.
Both?
It does.
Okay.
And that's, the lighting portion is the second agenda item.
All right, thank you. I do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you for
Thanks.
that, by
Thank
the
you.
way. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Agenda item number 11, contract award. We're going to stay with Carroll Community College. Contract award for the installation of lighting at turf field at Carroll Community College.
All right. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Division of Building Construction, requests your approval to award a contract for the installation of new lighting for the turf field at Carroll Community College to Musco Sports Lighting LLC in the amount of $519,000. This award will be made via a Sourcewell contract that was competitively bid. This amount is within the FY26 approved budget.
So lastly, the lighting will be provided by Musco Lighting. Musco Lighting is a company that does a lot of D1 schools along with high schools and so forth. They just did Westminster High School and Liberty High, I believe. So they will be the contractor on hand. There will be 4 80-foot poles, which will consist of 32 factory-aimed LED luminaries.
I move the Board of Commissioners approve the contract for the installation of lighting for the turf field at Carroll Community College to Musco Sports Lighting LLC in the amount of $519,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.
You too.
All right, item number 12, contract award, engineering services for a water appropriations evaluation of the Freedom District wells.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Division of Utilities, requests your approval to award a contract for engineering services for a water appropriations evaluation of the Freedom District wells in Commissioner District 5 to CDM Smith of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in the amount of $99,500. This award will be made via a competitively bid term contract. The proposed amount is within the adopted budget.
So, gentlemen, as per the briefing paper, the county holds MDE permits for 9 groundwater wells within Freedom District, and they're covered by 3 separate allocation permits. They're the Fairhaven site, the Raincliff site, and what we collectively call the Springfield wells. So I've got two treatment centers or well houses one at Fairhaven and one at Raincliff. What the overall goal of this will be to allow us to have one overall allocation permit for the combined group of 9 wells, and then as part of that, you pipe the Springfield wells to either Raincliff or Fairhaven, and use those sites as the treatment plants for collectively all 9 wells. So this approval will allow the groundwater supply then to both supplement the Freedom District water treatment plant as well as to provide a redundant water supply for the service area. There will be several future tasks for this project. It'll include the cost, the design and construction cost of piping the Springfield wells to Fairhaven and Raincliff, along with the redesign and upgrade of both Fairhaven and Raincliff well houses. And then a potential issue that we may have down the road is we have to take into account what the impact is going to be on the Freedom Water Plant by taking away 695,000 gallons per day of water processed through the plant, and the potential negative impact that it may have on the machinery there. So I know it's a lot to throw at you all at once. Any questions for me about this?
I move the Board of Commissioners award a contract for a water appropriations evaluation for the Freedom District wells to CDM Smith in the amount of $99,500.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item, Agenda 13, is a briefing discussion on forest conservation mitigation.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Yes. So I'm joined here today with Janet O'Meara, who is the Division Manager of the Division of Resource Management, and to Jonathan Bowman, who is our Forest Conservation Specialist. We're here to give you a briefing about an issue related to the forest conservation mitigation that's required through state law and through county code. I'm going to turn it over to John to run through a presentation, and then we're happy to discuss further.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Just wanted to provide a little bit of background related to forest in Maryland, forest conservation law, and then that'll get us into the discussion of the issue at hand. So forests, there's significant benefits that are realized from having forests on the landscape, and some of them are listed here before you. The ecosystem services they provide when forests are cleared become a significant loss, and consequently it's significant that since post-World War II, we've seen a lot of development in Maryland. The state has changed, and even our local communities have changed drastically due to urban and suburban development. So since the 1980s, there was a real, in the late 1980s, there was a real rampant subdivision and suburban development boom, and we had a lot of substantial forest loss at that time. So around that, the state became concerned about that forest loss, and in 1990, Governor Schaefer created a task force to address the issue of development-related forest loss. So in response to that, the state enacted a State Forest Conservation Act in 1991. The state actually encouraged local jurisdictions such as Carroll to adopt their own code based on the state's code, and we did that in December 8th of 1992. The basic purposes of the Forest Conservation Code are to minimize development-related forest loss. It's also intended to ensure protection of priority areas that are priority for retention of forest. And there's a requirement that cleared forest be replanted on a one-to-one basis. And there's a requirement actually that even if you don't clear forest, if you have a project that triggers the applicability of the code, you have to provide up to a afforestation threshold of 15 or 20%, depending on the nature of your project. So the way that reforestation and afforestation mitigation is typically achieved is through on-site planting of trees or off-site planting of trees, or through the purchase of forest banking. So this is where private individuals have set up planted trees, and they're selling the credit to folks who need it. And you can see listed there the average rate right now of going bank rate's about $18,000 an acre of cost related to the forest banking. Our issue, and where we're really going to concentrate for the rest of this presentation, is that our forest bank available credit has really fallen in the last 5 years or so. There's been a lack of new forest banks coming on the market. Private individuals haven't been creating them at a very rapid pace. So consequently, we have a real lack of credit available. And what that does is it creates a situation where developers who need that credit for their projects to be able to take place and be permitted don't have that opportunity. So this is where we currently find ourselves. We as staff are coming forward with some options for you to consider in terms of how to try to deal with this problem. Fee in lieu is an option that's in the State Forest Conservation Act. We currently do not exercise that in Carroll County, but essentially that's the idea of we set up a fund and developers can pay into that fund, and then those funds would be used by the county to implement the required mitigation for a project. We've always had the interest in privatizing the mitigation for projects, so we, as the county, haven't been saddled with that. But with the banks being constrained, that is that possibility is kind of diminishing. So there are upcoming code change requirements that have to be implemented by July 1st of this year, and one of the things we can incorporate is the allowing of fee in lieu in our code. So if that happens, if we were to create a fee in lieu fund and use it, the county be responsible for planting trees with that fund money. The fee in lieu would have to cover the costs associated with property acquisition, with getting plantings done, maintenance for those trees up to 10 years even, So there's a lot of costs associated with that. A second option, and a second proposal would be to use county-owned forest banking. So we, as the county, have set up some of our own banking for our own use. Those banking acreages have only been applied in the past to our own projects when a new county facility was built that needed that mitigation. But we could consider opening that county banking acreage up for sale to private development if that's considered appropriate. So both of these options require setting a pricing or a rate related to what credit would be sold for if we were to pursue these. In talking about rates, you see a chart at the bottom of the page there. These are fee in lieu rates that are being charged by neighboring counties for their fee in lieu programs. The map shows you what are called priority funding areas in pink related to it's really the municipalities within our jurisdiction here, considered priority funding areas by the state. It's areas that development is more encouraged in because we have sewer and water infrastructure and things of that nature. So what many jurisdictions have done is set a fee in lieu rate in the priority funding area that is less than the fee in lieu rate in the non-priority funding area. And you can see that reflected in the chart there. And the idea is to encourage or give kind of an incentive to developing in priority funding areas. And this chart will come back here at the end of the presentation for your reference. So to summarize, forest mitigation is a state requirement for a lot of development. Mitigation is typically planting, but quite often in Carroll County, it's been the use of private banks in the past. The private banking market's really dried up at this point. We basically have virtually no credit available in practicality. A lot of developers have actually taken to developing their own banks and using it only for their purposes, so they're not selling the credit to other developers or individuals who need it. Fee in lieu or purchasing of county bank credits are kind of similar solutions. It's really kind of an issue of fee in lieu being more of a reactive solution, and county banking is a bit more proactive because we're setting up these banks in advance. So what we're seeking is guidance from you on the rate for the county to establish for fee in lieu and for county banking. So the rate's going to have to cover the costs to meet that developer's obligation. So any rate we set has to be high enough to compete, or not to compete, sorry, with the private bank market. So if banks come online and are able to sell credit, we don't want folks coming to us to purchase credit. We want them to go into those private banks first and foremost. So our rate needs to be high enough to not compete with the private banks, but also we're interested in being low enough to not be overly burdensome, because any additional pricing related to development, of course, is additional cost passed on to the purchaser of homes or developers who are trying to complete projects. So we have a stacked recommendation before you, referencing back to the fact that currently private bank acreage has sold recently for about $18,000 an acre. Our staff recommendation is to actually match the Howard County rate you see shown on the table below in terms of a fee in lieu pricing. We believe this accurately reflects real costs that could be incurred by the county in trying to provide mitigation in terms of property acquisition and developing plantings. We do propose a discount for single-family home development. So if somebody has an individual lot and they're just looking to purchase or build their single-family house through a building permit process, we're looking at providing a lesser rate for that. So as you can see there, a building permit rate for a single-family home would be listed in the priority funding area as $27,225 per acre, or $32,670 per acre in a non-priority funding area. And then we would draw a distinction between that methodology and the last one listed, which is taking commercial developers or commercial subdivisions through a separate process where they would be purchasing from our fee in lieu or into our fee in lieu system, and the rates are listed there. Priority funding area would be listed at $54,450 an acre, and non-priority funding area priced at $65,340. So we welcome questions. I know that's a lot to absorb, and we certainly welcome discussion.
I have a few. What I've heard and before this, and then I verified yesterday, private bank people are telling me our restrictions are more than other counties. I talked to somebody yesterday. They would sell in Frederick County for 20 grand an acre. They would sell in Carroll County for 30. And they said that we require 5-year inspections instead of 3. And the question is, and I understand these banks, but do we want it to look like a forest, or do we want it to look like a park? And are we being too strict, and that's what's driving the price up? And I'll do a couple of my questions, and then you guys can decide how you want to do it. I think Frederick County allows existing forests 2.5 to 1, and I'm hearing they get about 7 grand for that, so that would be 18 something. Less than the 20. Do we allow that, and are we interested in allowing that as an option? We have some forests in Carroll County. And then my last question would be, building permit rate single-family home is probably not a lot of acres, but it's half the price of a commercial developer. And Howard County is not Carroll County, Frederick County either, but Frederick County is closer. I don't know what's the mindset of having a developer pay double when it's probably more acres than, individual houses would be maybe not even an acre. And I understand, and I want to be nice to single-family homes, but why are we, a developer is either not going to do the development or do private, and maybe that's the intention, but 50, 60 grand an acre just seems excessive to me. So that's my question so far.
You want me to start? I'll start, and then you can jump in and correct me where I go wrong. So your first question related to the cost to create the banks and the duration of inspections and maintenance and so on. And you're correct. We require 5 years of maintenance. There are other jurisdictions that may be less, maybe more. It's not something that's set by the state. The reality is that maintenance really needs to occur for about 10 years to really establish forest. But that's probably not realistic or reasonable to obligate somebody that long. We have actually had to deal with we have in the past, I don't forget how long ago, it was 3 years. And we had complaints from adjoining citizens who were next to mitigation sites saying nobody's maintaining this, what's essentially a field with a couple of sprigs of trees coming up, and complaining about that nobody's maintaining it. And because our code was 3 years, we had no teeth to require the property owner to go in and maintain it to really establish a forest. So there's a balance. And as John mentioned, we are currently working on code revisions to the Forest Conservation Plan, or Forest Conservation Code, and absolutely the duration of maintenance is something that we can discuss. Our current code is 5 years, so we're anticipating, because we have to have our new code in place by July 1, it's probably going to be May timeframe. We'll be back before you, and we can have those discussions regarding if we want to change that. But there is a balance there.
Well, if I let's say I'm doing one, and it's 3 years, 5 years, whatever, even in 3 years, they ought to be significantly tall. You know, I know. but-
So it really depends on what you start with, because
I know,
if you
and-
start with a twig that's this
Oh, I
high
know, and
versus a
maybe
2-inch
that
caliber.
requirement ought to be more strict,
Yeah.
and then, but what happens, so you inspected it 5 years and it's okay,
Mhm.
and I'd also question how often it needs to be mowed and whatever. Like I say, we're driving up the price of these, and that's okay if we're happy. So then, at 10 years, at 15 years, I sell some. Do you have any rights to inspect that then, or that's all gone because of the 5 years?
So once we're through the 5-year maintenance period, there's an easement inspection that occurs to ensure that there's no violations of the easement, but we're not still monitoring the survival in terms of, mortality.
Okay.
So your next couple questions, I think, were related to the rates. And there.
The 2.5 acres of, the 2.5 times.
Oh,
the line
using
for
the
farm.
the existing, yes. So as John mentioned, there's reforestation requirements and there's afforestation requirements. We currently, if you have existing forest on your property and to meet your afforestation requirements, you can use that existing forest. New state law allows for addressing afforestation requirements by doing that on other properties. And we are looking to add that to our code.
Okay.
The issue here is more on the reforestation, where you need to plant new trees. And that really requires a bank where somebody's planting trees and so on. So yes, we are, if we're not doing all of it, we are looking to change our code to allow for all of it. And then your final question, I believe, was related to the rates. We are open to any discussions of the rates and that you wish. We are not beholden to any of these. We don't have to differentiate PFAs versus non-PFAs. That could be standard across the county. It really doesn't matter. That's just how some other jurisdictions do it. So we wanted to present that. The main thing that we want to avoid is we don't want to compete with the private industry. So we don't want to set a rate that's down around $18,000 or so on, because then there's no incentive for the private industry to continue. We really don't want to be doing this, but we're really we've got real case scenarios where there are folks that are ready to build their houses, and their intention had always been to buy a half acre or something like that in a forest bank, and it doesn't exist anymore. And so we're looking for it to provide them an option. Ideally, there will be private citizens that create banks and allow this to happen again. But in the meantime, we're looking to give that option to that single-family home builder and so on. The reason for differentiating the rates is we recognize there's a difference between that single-family homeowner and a developer that may need 5 acres of forest mitigation. We don't want to set a low rate and then they buy up all of the capacity with one subdivision. So we're trying to set the rate more such that the development community, the large-scale developer, is incentivized to look elsewhere, solve it for themselves, and not come to us, and save those acres for that single-family homeowner who doesn't have the resources to pay into a large rate. So we are completely open to any sort of fee structure, but we think that it's pretty necessary we set something so that we can address this issue.
Okay.
Did I answer all of your questions?
Yeah, so far.
Did I answer correctly?
Yes.
Good.
Ooh, passed the test.
Yes, I passed the test.
I move the Board of County Commissioners direct staff to draft a resolution establishing a fee in lieu payment structure for forest conservation mitigation.
Second. And we don't need to address what all you said about you're looking at things, you'll be back in.
Absolutely.
That's happening.
Yes, that is happening as we speak.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item 14, grant approval to submit application and acceptance of award FY27 Rural Legacy Program.
That's okay. That's okay. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
How's everyone this morning? Things are moving right along.
Good. Got your,
I'm gonna hold off on my presentation. That's for the second
Sure.
one.
Sure.
So, good morning. I'm here today for approval for the FY27 grant application and award acceptance for the Rural Legacy Program. The Maryland Rural Legacy Program is administered by the Department of Natural Resources and provides grants to sponsors to supplement their land preservation efforts. Carroll County has been a major recipient of these grants, totaling more than $23 million since 2000. These grants have bolstered Carroll County's preserved land by more than 5,400 acres to date within the county's 2 designated rural legacy areas, the Upper Patapsco Rural Legacy Area and the Little Pipe Creek Rural Legacy Area, which encompass nearly 100,000 acres. Each year, the county is invited to submit an application to the program for additional grant monies. Grant requests reflect demand within our current applicant pool, whose properties are within one of the county's 2 rural legacy areas. This year, we're submitting 14 properties along with our grant application that are possible applicants. So I'm here asking for permission to do the grant application and to accept it this fall.
I move the Board of Commissioners approve the submittal of the FY27 grant application and acceptance of award to the county from the Rural Legacy Program.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
I've got a unrelated question. A prior commissioner, which is, I might as well say the name, but I won't, was at an event to get pesticide license and whatever, a bunch of farmers. And the discussion there was our county program for Ag Pres, that if you have one of those easements, they can't cross you with the transmission line. I didn't think that was correct. I heard that some of the old ones had wording, et cetera, but of course, what this person was saying, if that's true, you need to hurry up and give some people some. But, so that's a second decision. But have you heard that?
Well, I don't know all the legal points to the rural legacy easements, but I think there are some that require General Assembly approval or some other type of approval. I was not at the meeting.
Yeah.
I did get a phone call.
You've heard about it? Yeah.
And, I was, asked to, let's get all these in, let's get them done. I wish we could do easements that quickly, especially ones that may deter the power line.
But would new ones really stop that?
I don't know specifically.
How do we find out for sure?
I mean, it's a question I can talk to rural legacy people about.
Okay.
There's a wealth of information down there. But I think in the past, there have been some easements that are written differently than others, and they're getting more thorough all the time.
Yeah, we've talked this before.
Yeah.
But I didn't think there were new ones that would have that restriction. And if there are, I think we need to talk about it. Now, if it's not, it's these groups get together and talk, and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's half true, and sometimes it's wrong.
I think the person that was speaking was a lawyer type person. So they had some information that, I just don't know very well.
Yeah.
But I can certainly, like I said, talk with the DNR and see, if that easement carries any weight.
Yep.
I can certainly do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be advisable. I know there was some conversation because I had asked a few months back, and I can't recall if off the top of my head. I'd have to go back through my notes if it was Rural Legacy or Mouth. One of them, there's 2 different versions of the easement. One would require it to go, to your point, to General Assembly up until a certain date, The other version, if memory serves, would have to go through the court system. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to go look.
I think they're rural legacy easements.
Okay,
Yeah, because I think there were some of the easements right around New Windsor,
okay.
going past the quarry over there near Route 31.
But I'd agree. I think if there's anything we've been doing this and we're consistently doing this, and I'm just going to mention this for anybody watching. We've all been consistently looking at every option, as has county legal. But yes, anything we can do to continue, keep digging, let's do it.
Sure, sure. I'll do that and let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Today, we are looking for final approval of a rural legacy program applicant. Currently, we're at 81,688 acres. This is a 23-acre property. It's going to put us over 81,700 acres. As was mentioned before, it's a rural legacy program applicant. The rural legacy program is 100% funded by grant funds from the state. We have two rural legacy areas, Little Pipe Creek Rural Legacy Area on the west side and Upper Patapsco Rural Legacy Area on the east side of the county. We use a points-based appraisal to value the properties. There are no soil qualifications in the rural legacy program, and we can accommodate small or large farms. So the property we're looking at today is a Stuart Wisner Jr. and Helen Wisner property. It's in the Upper Patapsco Rural Legacy Area on Wesley Road in Finksburg. The property is 23.136 acres, and we're retiring 5 lot rights. The fair market value of the land only was $206,713.49 per that points-based appraisal. The grant cost is $144,699.45, which is $6,254.30 per acre, which is 70% of the fair market value. And again, it's 100% state grant funds. Here's how the farm fits in with other preserved acres in the area. Here's a view across the farm and how it lays.
Could you go back one just for a second?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay.
Got to get that little piece in between, that rectangular piece.
Well, we'll see. We have another applicant in the area, and we'll see. We'll see. It grows. That's the nice part about getting some of these larger farms without other preservation around. That starts to grow. The view across the farm. Again, we're requesting final approval for the Stuart Wisner Jr. and Helen Wisner property on Wesley Road in Finksburg, 23.136 acres. We're retiring 5 lot rights at a grant cost of $144,699.45, which equates to $6,254.30 per acre.
I move the Board of Carroll County Commissioners exercise the option to purchase a Rural Legacy Program conservation easement on the Stuart Wisner Jr. and Helen Wisner property in the amount of $144,690.45.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Smith. I appreciate it.
Piece of property.
It is nice, right on the corner.
All right, we're going to roll into the public comment phase of our meeting. I want to take this opportunity to remind Carroll County residents, we encourage citizen participation, we encourage public comment, but we do have guidelines. They're posted online, but they're also posted on a very large billboard out inside in the hallway, and they've always been there. Among them are comments should not and shall not be directed toward board members or county staff, no signs or billboards and things like that. And that comment should be directed towards upcoming issues, agenda items. We take a very liberal view of that. We would hope that people can remain just remotely germane in their comments. But anybody failing to comply with those guidelines will have their time suspended. So with that stated, Mr. Swam, do we have anybody online, callers on the phone?
Yes, sir, we do. If the caller could use *6 to unmute. Sorry, I was sharing the webpage with the guidelines. Yeah, caller, if you could use *6 to unmute, you'll have 3 minutes to give your public comment today. Please identify yourself.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Hold on, I'm trying to set my timer here. Oops, I guess somebody else will have to do it. I had it all set up. Anyway, good morning, Commissioners. Catherine Adelaide, one of 9 members of the Carroll County Republican Central Committee, elected during the primary at large, representing every registered Republican in Carroll County, including you. And that's my primary election pitch for this morning. And then I want to go right into, I always do a thank you or to give thanks in all things. I want to thank the commissioners, thank all the staff, the employees of Carroll County. Thank you for all the hard work you do. When I hear people complain to me, which is often, I invite them to just come sit in and just listen to these meetings and get a feel for just how much work everybody does just to, make things go round. So I did want to, remember you and thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to start with Carroll County Republican Central Committee news. We have our meeting tonight at 6:30 at the Westminster Senior Center. It's the 4th Thursday of every month, and our main agenda item will be the legislative breakfast coming up on Saturday, February 28th at the Winfield Firehouse. And you can go to ccgop.net to get your tickets. I hope to see all of you there. Usually you all are there, and we really just have a wonderful time, and it's just wonderful to support our legislators. I'm usually there with the pro-life table. You can register for Carroll County Right to Life again. We also had our last Carroll County Right to Life meeting last Thursday, January 15th, after, the same day you had your last meeting here. And our major agenda item was the National March for Life, which, yay, is finally here in D.C. tomorrow. I hope you're all aware of it. This year's theme is Life is a Gift. And I got a special gift on Christmas Eve. My grandson informed me that I always thought I was a pretty good grandmother, but I've gotten a promotion and I'm going to be a great grandmother. So they just had the sonogram yesterday, and honestly, I've been doing pro-life work for a long time, but these 3-dimensional sonograms at 10 weeks, that ain't no clump of cells, baby. That is a beating heart. And there's not too many things that leave me speechless, but looking at that sonogram did. So I'm just super, super excited to be going to the National March for Life tomorrow, which you can do. Most of you are too busy to go. You can pray for the safety of the participants and the speakers. And if you cannot attend, watch the live stream at EWTN News. I will be there with the president of Carroll County Right to Life, Stephen Leon, and we have a huge yellow banner that was clearly, you should be able to see us out there. I did want to give a shout out to Sally Taylor, who organized the very first meeting of the Carroll County Right to Life. I appreciate that. So I think that's it for me. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Mr. Swim, any further callers?
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Wyndham, any public comments?
Andrew Manning.
Mr. Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Guerin. You may begin my time. Thank you. My name is Andrew Manning. To no one's surprise, I did have a speech planned out today. However, due to the last second comment, I'm going to have to pivot and put that speech on hold today. Now, I'm sorry, I'm still getting over the last comment we just heard about a woman getting an ultrasound. That's certainly very, I already used the word pivot, but I'm going to use pivotal again to everybody's mental cognizance right now. That's certainly, really important there. Let's see. I find it very interesting, sir, Mr. Guerin, commissioners, that you decided to go ahead and make this disclaimer conveniently, as Mr. Vigliotti is not here today, as he is the younger guy. Of course, my mom was 40, my dad was 50 when I was born, so I do have a respect for seniority. But I have a feeling that you utilize this opportunity to go ahead and speak and say what you had to say, to not force it upon Mr. Vigliotti. I don't know why Mr. Kyler was removed from.
Mr. Manning, again, we just
Again,
ask
you're the vice.
We just ask you to follow the guidelines. That's all. Everybody who's in here.
Okay, and don't your guidelines say you don't comment or interrupt people? Isn't
we're just asking you to please do your best to follow the citizen protection.
I don't care, man. It's a public comment. This is free speech. So let me get to what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's not free speech. It's
It is.
It's follow the rules on the wall.
I completely disagree with you.
Well, you can disagree all you want. You're
Okay,
wrong,
well,
and
maybe
I'm
that's
right.
why you're not sitting in the middle anymore.
And we've tolerated
You didn't
every
tolerate
meeting,
anything. This is
and-
part of your job.
and-
This is what you get paid for, is to hear the public.
Mr. Manning,
I am the public.
Mr. Manning.
Yeah,
you are-
You're interrupting me. You're not allowing me to finish my comment. I'm responding to you.
You have
What do you wanna
violated.
do, man? Go
you
ahead
have-
and make your
You
call.
have made the decision to violate several different guidelines that I just went over.
Cry
It's not
about it,
appreciated.
man. Put on your big boy pants. You're getting paid $50,000 a year. You just got to sit there for 3 minutes and listen to me talk.
All right, Mr. Manning, I'm going to
You're a
have
big
to.
boy, man.
Mr. Manning, I'm going to suspend the
You're,
rest.
you're,
You are
Mr.
welcome.
Manning, you can go ahead
are
and
welcome-
try to
you are
placate like you're
welcome-
being some kind of professional, even though we've seen your unprofessionalism before.
Mr.
What do you
Manning,
mean, let's go?
you are
No, you need to tell me that I need to stop my public comment.
Your public comments are suspended.
They're suspended?
We've asked you to just try to follow
back
the
up.
guidelines. Please,
You can back
Mr.
up. I'm not a threat.
Please,
You-
Mr.
you
Manning.
You don't have any authority over me in this situation. This is a public building. Listen, I'm not listening to you. So if you're going to put your hands on me, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm refusing until my public comment is concluded. So you can go ahead and keep talking over me. You people, like the drug addicts that came in here, you guys want to sit here and clap your hands like seals while I sit here and maybe give 30-second speech about their story. You don't care about the people that have the real issues. You care about placating for the general public. Put your hands on me. My comment's not done. Then do it.
Disorderly. This
is not disorderly. This is
final
speaking.
warning.
Do it.
Leave or you're going to be under arrest.
Do it.
Mr. Manning, your time is.
Do it.
Okay, thank you.
the building.
Mr. Manning, your time is up. Thank you.
My time's up because you interrupted me about
Let's
5
go.
times.
Leave the building.
You'll see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'll see. You're breaking the law.
Mr. Manning, we are not breaking the law, and you're welcome to come back
We're not,
anytime.
and I'll go a step further. If you want to come back, follow the rules. Otherwise, don't come back.
Yeah, thanks. You're a real stand-up guy.
Yeah,
You were in
yeah.
the service,
I'm
right?
an
You're
idiot.
pathetic. You're sad. So are you.
Okay, any more public comment?
None here.
All right, thank you. We're going to move.
I might do 3 minutes.
Okay, we are going to move into open administration, so you have the ability to
My
do
First
that if you
Amendment
like.
rights.
Everybody has First Amendment rights, including the commissioners.
Just to be clear, there is no requirement that the county have a public comment
No,
period.
no.
So if any board or public body such as yourselves would want to eliminate public comment, you're welcome to do so.
And again, we've had that discussion, and we certainly don't want to go down that route. And I think what's worth mentioning, because I'm sure this is going to get a lot of attention, is that we have the most liberal rules I have found of any governing body in the state of Maryland. I would encourage people to look at their town councils and different county councils. We have the most lenient citizen guidelines you can find, and we want to keep it that way. But we do have to, for the sake of all speakers, adhere to those guidelines. It's only fair. So again, we have open administration. Any comments from my fellow 2 commissioners today?
Well, and I agree 100%. We don't want to stop the 99% that follow the rules. And it's unfortunate when you have somebody that doesn't. And this was a good time to address it because that individual's been escalating and getting away with more and more, and we probably should have nipped it weeks ago.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Again, we want to hear people's comments. We want to hear people's concerns. And again, people are welcome to do that. We encourage that, whether that's here in person or via email or anything like that. So,
Well, and as was mentioned by our county administrator, yes, we do have the legal option. I'm not going to speak for the rest of the board, but I'm quite sure that that's not something we would ever want to consider, nor do I think we should consider personally. We all do have freedom of speech, and that is a right, but, there is decorum in process, but then also, one's rights end where someone else's rights begin. So it's something I think we all need to keep in mind, and I think it's kind of unfortunate that, not germane strictly just to today, but people need to get back to actually being able to have conversation, and politeness goes a lot further sometimes than anything else. And I'll leave it at that.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our open administrative session. Ms. Wyndham, County Administrator, do you have anything?
Can I say one
Sure,
more
sure,
thing?
absolutely.
I didn't think about this, and I apologize. I don't know who the policeman was that was here, but I want to thank him for stepping up and just maybe diffusing the situation. I really want to thank him for that, and I should have said that sooner.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The Carroll County Sheriff's Office has got a tough job. They're there to protect everybody, and we appreciate their diligence today in assisting us.
I don't have anything other than, if you want to move on.
All right, so we're going to move on to agenda items.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, we're going to be discussing agenda items for the week of January 26th, starting on Monday. We've got the Rural Counties Coalition. That's a virtual meeting with Commissioner Kyler. On Wednesday, January 28th, we've got the Boys and Girls Club's legislative breakfast at 8 in the morning, and that's with Commissioners Gordon and Kyler. 9:30, we've got the MACO Education Subcommittee. That meeting is virtual with Commissioner Kyler. Again, on Wednesday, January 28th at 3 p.m., we've got the MACO Legislative Committee in Annapolis with Commissioner Kyler. And a busy day ahead of you there, Commissioner
Yep.
Kyler. At 5 o'clock, the MACO Legislative Reception, and it looks like Commissioner Kyler and Commissioner Krebs will be attending. At 7 o'clock that same day, we have the Carroll County Public Library Board of Trustees meeting overreach presentation. That will be held at New Windsor. As of now, it looks like no commissioners are attending. I suspect Commissioner Vigliotti may try to attend that meeting. And our the podcast for that week is for Commissioner Krebs.
And Wanda, I will be in attendance in Annapolis that day, as well as the Boys and Girls Club breakfast. Just figured I'd wait and mention that at the end, since we have so many items for Annapolis that day.
Any further changes or amendments for that particular week? Okay. Moving on to the next week, Monday, February 2nd, we've got the another Rural Counties Coalition meeting. Do I see that right? Okay. It's a virtual meeting, and that's Commissioner Kyler. Nothing listed for Tuesday, February 3rd. Wednesday, February 4th, the MACO Education Subcommittee. That meeting's virtual, and that's with Commissioner Kyler. And then later on that morning, the MACO Legislative Committee meeting, and that is virtual with Commissioner Kyler. And I failed to even go through the agenda items for last week, so let me back up. Sorry. Let's go back to that week. Starting on Thursday, January 29th for the County Commissioners, open session 8 o'clock, closed admin, 9 o'clock, Board of County Commissioners open session, priority Carroll, then item 1. We have some attendees from Shop Small, Win Big promotion winners. Item number 2, we have our weekly legislative update. Item 3, we have a public hearing on the 2025 Fall Amendment to the Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan. Item 4, Data Processing Center deferral, permission to proceed to public hearing. Item 5, we have a briefing and discussion on solar decommissioning. Item 6, mowing of Carroll County parks in the North Region. Item 7, the mowing of Carroll County parks in the Southern Region. At 1 o'clock on that same day, we have a Board of Carroll County Commissioners open session, and we will be meeting with the Environmental Advisory Council and Board of County Commissioners, and that meeting is downstairs in the Reagan Room starting at 1 o'clock. Nothing listed for Friday, January 30th. On Saturday, January 31st, we have the Tawnytown Volunteer Fire Company Banquet, and Commissioner Vigliotti will be attending. As I mentioned, Commissioner Krebs has the podcast, so now properly moving on to the following week.
A question. Sure. Item 5, solar decommissioning, what's that and why?
I believe, and I'll double check, but I believe the board asked for more information and more discussion on it. I will double check though, but I think it's following.
But that's
the board.
just an information session.
Yes.
We're not voting on anything, and it's so many misconceptions about that, so I can't hurt.
I will double check. Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
Now next week.
Now next week. We'll get there. We'll get there. A lot going on.
Interrupt again and have.
There's an awful lot going on. Okay, again, let's start over on February 2nd, that Monday. As I mentioned, Rural Counties Coalition, that meeting's virtual. That's Commissioner Kyler. And then on Wednesday, Commissioner Kyler is attending two separate meetings, the MACO Education Subcommittee and the MACO Legislative Committee. On Thursday, February 5th, the Board of County Commissioners meets for open session. We'll have priority Carol. And then item 2, public comment on the FY26 State Courthouse Security Grant, submission number 2, applications and acceptance of award. Item 3, public comment and discussion on submitting the grant application to the Maryland Community Health Resources Commission for a full partnership hub for Carroll County and spoke providers recommended for funding. Item 4, we will have our legislative update. Item 5, we will discuss planned commercial centers.
And just for that, so we were thinking of doing a work session, but we think we have we can have a narrower conversation that would be easier and a little bit faster to move it along. So we can always move it to a work session too if the board feels they need more time, but we think we have a more focused conversation that will help.
So, and because it's an open session, there is public comment on it. In a work session, there wouldn't be?
Correct. That's true. That's true.
Thank you. Friday, February 6th, nothing listed. Saturday, February 2nd, excuse me, February 7th, nothing listed. And then Sunday, February 8th, Commissioner Vigliotti's on board for the podcast.
I do have info on the decommissioning question. People listened to you, and I got the answer already. At the adoption of code, Commissioner Vigliotti had asked for more information on the decommissioning, and we're just presenting that information. No votes required.
Okay. All right. Any changes or amendments to that week? No. Ms. Wanda, did I miss anything?
No.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. So moved.
If I don't second it, we just got to sit here?
I guess
Pretty much.
technically I could
I
second
second.
it. I have a second. This meeting is adjourned.